Ramble time, everybody. Agent of Doubt here. And today I'm coming to you all saying I haven't been as prolific on YouTube in the past week because I was doing something completely nonsensical. I was watching every Mission Impossible movie before going to see the final one in the theater at the Alamo Drafthouse. And I just did that today, or earlier today. It's Sunday, June 8th, 2025. And I believe the first of the Mission Impossible movies came out in 1996. So, in the movie, they're like, it's been like 35 years that you've been an agent, but they're giving him a couple more years because when the movie starts in 1996, he's already been an agent for years. So, it's these 8 movies spread from 1996 to now 2025. That's an incredible span of 8 movies, and I think it's only rivaled by something like Fast and Furious, as far as star power and continuity of one story arc-ish. But I have some feelings about it. Back in 1996, that was before I actually joined the Army and became a electronics calibration technician. So rewatching that movie, because I had seen it before, right? And so many other movies had lampooned that movie or parodied that movie for certain scenes in it, especially the scene where he descends into the computer terminal that's hardened in order to hack it. That one, everybody knows that one, with like the drip of sweat that he catches in his hand so that it doesn't set off the alarms, whatnot. It's iconic. And so I rewatched that movie, and what really blew my mind was the opening credits to it were something that nowadays would not be allowed for a blockbuster movie with Tom Cruise starring in it. It's just, in 1996, with the budget that they had, they put out something that looks like you could make that in a minute with your cell phone these days. It's a terrible intro credit scene. It's pixelated, and even when they're using their computers, like I felt painful looking at like just emails and the windows that they were in on those computers in 1996. It was just like a traumatic memory of low tech things. And I feel like this movie series, this Mission Impossible, happened a long time, one of the greatest explosions of technology. And so for it being a movie about high-tech spies who always have cutting-edge technology, it's kind of comical when you watch that first movie and you see what they thought the next step in technology would be for a lot of things. So even in the second movie, there's a car chase scene where Tom Cruise picks up a car phone, and I still, for the purposes of this you should still do this instead of this to, say phone, because it was a car phone, right? And he called the other car's car phone. She's like, how did you get this number? And car phones were, early aughts, like just at the beginning of the 2000s, it was actually already going the way of the dodo, because cell phones were becoming more prolific to where everyone eventually would have a cell phone. And so just seeing the shape of those, like pre the Nokia that everyone had a couple of years later, just the shape of those car phones, it's just, ugh. Anyways, this was like, watching all 8 movies in 1 week was like a time traveling tour of technology throughout the last 30 years. And I feel like by around the 5th movie, they realized that the first movie kind of stunk in the way that they thought technology would advance, and that just a few years later, technology had way surpassed everything that they did in the movie. And so by the 5th movie, they were doing things like, instead of walking away from low-tech things and becoming more high-tech, let's go back to using some low-tech things. Like, there was a record player that was the message, and that they started using reel-to-reel tapes for the mission message. And then there were things in the last 2 movies, like a guy, Benji, he flips up a page of a magazine this way, and it becomes a laptop. Like, it's that thin that it can hide as a magazine. And they went over the top with like advances in technology that we don't have yet, but also sometimes bringing in these low-tech approaches to things. And so I think they understood by around the 5th movie that you can't predict the way that technology is going to go. And then the final 2 movies, I feel like it was kind of a retcon to say what the spoilers here a little bit, just a little bit of spoilers, but like the 3rd movie had a device in it, we'll say, and then like the last 2 movies, they explain what the device was that they were trying to get. It was like the Maltese Falcon in the 3rd movie. Like, it never gets explained in the 3rd movie. Like, for 20 years later, we don't know what it was that they were, that all the bad guys wanted, and that the good guys had to keep out of the bad guys' hands. And so finally they gave it an explanation in the final 2 movies. And so a big theme of the final 2 movies is actually very prescient for today, in that it explores artificial intelligence and what would happen if it went unchecked and became like sentient, kind of a like how in the Terminator movies they have Skynet, right? Or like War Games, like those those old movies. So like, this is not a new concept here, except for that right now we have the Big Beautiful Bill just passed the House, and it got sent to the Senate, and in it there is this provision that says that no laws restricting AI can happen for 10 years. And if you're looking at the movie where this AI can like control people, by like sending emails back and forth and like faking like it's people and just having people do its bidding. You'd figure, did the AI get the Congress of America to slip that in so that the AI could continue to evolve unchecked in America right now in real life, and so yeah, I've had a good time thinking about all the different themes from Mission Impossible, and just my place in the world, having grown up in my adult life throughout the movies as they were released, and being able to recognize the technology that they're using in each iteration of Mission Impossible. It's just I feel like I lived through all of that stuff and had due to my past career as an electronics calibration technician, I have been privy to a lot of the technology that you wouldn't see as a normal citizen, because I could see advances happening that would make things obsolete 2 or 3 years after something came out, that anyways, I felt in the last 2 movies there was a scene where a guy named Luther was soldering something with like a magnifying glass and whatnot, and he's building something with a soldering iron. I'm like, yeah, that's so low tech compared to where we are in making things these days, because components have gotten so small that you really, really can't do a lot of work on the kind of things that he was working on without a whole factory helping you out. So, it does give me kind of, I don't know, a suspension of my disbelief gets broken when I see how certain technologies really wouldn't work that way or come about that way. No one person can invent an entire technology anymore. Usually the credit goes to like whole teams of people, whole like universities and government funding backing these things. So to think that one person could invent something like what happened, not really buying it. But to think that an AI or like a large language learning model could evolve itself, and then start getting the ball rolling like a snowball coming down a mountain, just turning into a large avalanche. Like, yeah, I could see that happening. Anyways, I feel like the surveillance and control thing that you see in Mission Impossible, like facial recognition being a thing that we're dealing with right now. That's all throughout all the movies. GPS tracking, drones monitoring you, being able to pull off things that it used to take helicopters for, but now they're in the sky and they're not making as much noise as a helicopter. You can't see them because they're smaller than what a pixel would be on your screen. If you're just looking with your naked eye, you can't see a drone that can see you. And I feel like this kind of highlights everyone's anxieties these days about privacy and government overreach and the ethics of like just watching people. So yeah, this was a very interesting movie marathon that I did this week. I'm glad that I had friends that went along with me on this ride that were familiar with the subject matter. I had only seen the first movie and then stopped throughout the years as they came out, and that the last movie became an event with my friend group made me want to catch up with all the rest. So like, just seeing old tech in the times that it came out through those years, just it was a walk down memory lane for me. I also kind of feel like you guys have seen like me evolve visually for the last 20 years online, and in this movie series, you see a lot about like deception and illusion with these hyper realistic masks that you can actually buy a hyper realistic mask now, and I've actually seen YouTubers use these masks with like low light conditions when they're filming and everything, but like pull off to a bunch of people that they are like a different person, but then I recognize the mask from Spirit Halloween that they're using, that has the same features, and I'm like, hey, wait, that guy's just wearing a rubber mask and some sunglasses, and you guys are fooled. But I feel like that and voice changers, they show how easily technology can distort identity and truth, and brings up a lot of concerns about deep fakes and misinformation. I feel like in the movies, technology is always like this double-edged sword. Like, yeah, we have it, but like they can have it too. And so sometimes you see the good guys in this movie series being fooled by one of those rubber masks. So, and nuclear weapons being on both sides and all that, hacking tools being on both sides. It's like, the fact that the tool exists, it's kind of like, it's a tool, it's neutral, but it can be corrupted, So these are things that we have to like talk about in our age now. That like this movie, I feel like this whole series, you could make a college class on it, really. And you would teach people a lot about the ethics of machines, and it would be a good class, It would probably be salacious as a headline on Fox News, like, they're watching Mission Impossible for college girls, but like, it would be a good class. It touches a lot of topics. I feel like it's always in the movies that human ingenuity is going to beat the machines, and in order to get away from like high-tech surveillance, they go low-tech, and that's nice for a movie. It's not really like, I think, the truth in real life. I've seen how chess masters react to being beat by machines, and it's not pretty. I also think that it brings up themes of like just how decentralized tech has become. Like, everyone can own a cell phone. So, like, everyone has access to at least a little bit of technology, right? And by a little bit, it's like the knowledge of the entire human race is accessible on the cloud to everyone, on the internet. And so, with that decentralization, you get a lot of, like, rogue technology out there, and hackers could be all the way around the world, and yeah, you can have a theft happen like in seconds from somebody who is, on the exact opposite side of the world as you. So it's yeah. Along with all that hacking in the movie, I feel like we have a lot of examples of like infiltration into secure systems, of like the Ashley Madison thing where they got that whole clientele database and just made it public and changed a whole bunch of people's lives. But there's other like data leaks all the time, and I think I've been in like 20 of them. Where I just have password changing routines now. you know. But yeah, I think in a way the Mission Impossible series actually glorifies hacking and like stealing from bank vaults and moving trains and just impossible break-ins and like hacking things to work in your favor. It really, along with all the other moral accountability issues of like capitalism in that same world exploiting people, like it glorifies that like this ragtag team was actually formed because each one of them was given a choice of like go to prison or become one of us. That's in case you don't know anything about Mission Impossible, like all of them have sordid pasts, right? And so they got recruited to the good guys after they were bad for a while. So yeah, some of those characters came from nothing and they hacked their way into action, adventure, excitement, and money. Like so yeah, I also think like the way that some of the globalization and like borderless warfare happened in the movies, like where these bad guys are bad in Paris, they're bad in London, they're bad in New York, they're bad in Dubai, which by the way, every one of the like high altitude or like death defying stunt things that involve heights, I'm afraid of heights and my hands were sweating for a lot of these. Like I'm watching it and I'm holding my hands like this just to air them out because they get clammy when I watch something like Tom Cruise on a cliffside or Tom Cruise on the Burj Khalifa. Like it's clammy hands. But yeah, like this warfare was happening like all over the globe, and it really like kind of it highlights how power now is increasingly digital and kind of diffused across the entire planet. I also kind of note that like when the messages get sent to them, it's like whatever device it is, it could be like a payphone that has like a transformer top to it, or like a book with a reel-to-reel and a projector in it, whatever it is that the message comes to them in, or like the cassette tape that they put into the armrest on the airplane, which is really low tech to see now, because nobody's playing a cassette tape or on anything, let alone on an airplane, But like when you see these things, and then they give the message, and then they say, this message will self-destruct in 5 seconds. And then 5 seconds later, psh, there's smoke. You know what that reminds me of? Snapchat. It's just ephemeral communications that, like, to me, it shows, like, the necessity of that in this world, where, like, if you tweet something out, like, 10 years ago and it was a little off, or, like, the standards for what comedy is change, then you can get in trouble. So, like, people have to worry about, you know, how lasting their social media is, and people are switching to using Signal and burner phones and stuff in the government because they don't want their office memos being tracked for, you know, criminal proceedings later. You know, so, like, the ephemeral communication, I feel like they were actually very visionary when they came up with that in the first movie, like, and the source stuff that the first movie came from, the TV shows and everything, like, that was something that we now still think about, is how we want our messages to self-destruct. I also remember seeing that in, like, the Inspector Gadget cartoon as a kid. But yeah. Just the last thing that I recognized in that was, like, this escalating tech arms race, you know, where it's very pertinent to what we're dealing with right now with, you know, not wanting certain countries to have access to certain chips, and every next innovation spells disaster for whoever doesn't have that innovation. And it kind of, you know, the movies kind of mirror, like, real world military industrial complex tech dynamics, you know. Anyways, that's why I have been absent for this week. Was I spent an entire week using all my free time watching, like, 16 hours of movies at home, only to go to the theater and cap it all off with another 3 hours. And I'd do it again. I think it was a good use of my time. You know, I needed a break, so here we are. Catch you next time.